This tutorial covers entry of a silent auction item into the items table and information about the donor of that item into the people table. But first, let's talk a little auction philosophy. It has been our experience that you get the most active and effective bidding if you have your lower valued items on your first table, medium valued items on the second table, and higher valued items on the third table. Of course, you won't be able to make the decisions about which tables you want items on until you've received most of those items. So we suggest waiting until near the time of your event, make those decisions, assign the item numbers and the table assignments, and go back into the items table and enter the item numbers and the table assignments. Similarly, we found that it helps your staff if there is a rational numbering scheme. So we suggest numbering first table items at 101, second table items at 201, and third table items at 301. We've also found that it helps the staff if your bidders are numbered pretty much alphabetically by last name. The bidder folders will of course be in the tubs in bidder number sequence, but if your staff has to find somebody by last name, it'll be much easier if they're pretty much in that same sequence. We suggest again that you wait until near the time of your event, print the list of bidders by alphabetic by last name, assign the bidder numbers, and go back into the people table and enter that information into the people table. So let's take a look at what it takes to enter this silent auction item you've received and information about the donor. We'll start by going to the items form, and we'll double click on it to open it. Remember that when you open a form, if you have records in the table, the record that will be displayed will always be the first one. At the bottom of the form, of all forms, there is this little button that is a right-facing arrow with an exclamation, or with an asterisk rather, so you can click on that to get to the next empty form. So we'll go in here and we'll enter this information. This is a complete auto detailing. So Steve's auto detailing will provide, etc., etc. What you put in the title and the description will be what prints on the silent auction bid sheets. So we suggest you make good decisions about that. Be succinct in your description. You only have 255 characters in the database. If you have any items for which you require a longer description, typically only live auction items, of course, for your catalog, you can do that because that's a different document altogether. So that's not a problem. So Steve has estimated that the value of this complete detailing is $150. Again, we're going to assign donor numbers as the items come in. So we're going to number Steve as donor 401. If the item requires a gift certificate, and this is a good example of one that probably will, and the donor has supplied that gift certificate, enter a Y in here, and Steve has supplied a certificate, so we'll put in the Y. This is going to be a silent auction item, and again, we won't know which table until we've made that decision later on. So that's all it takes to enter the item. We can click on the red X and close that form. To enter the information about Steve, we'll go to the people form. Steve's last name is Smith, and his first name is Steve. These other fields, the companion fields, are really only relevant for bidders. The display name is going to be Steve's Auto Detailing. And this is what will print anywhere that you show who the donor was of a given item. Steve is at 123 Main Street, and that is in Lakewood in Washington State, and that's 98498. We don't know Steve's telephone number or email address right offhand, but we can always put that in later. This bidder question mark and donor question mark is just a place to put a Y if it's a bidder and a Y if it's a donor. Well, Steve is certainly a donor, so we'll put the Y in there. We had already decided Steve will be donor number 401. If you're entering registrants, then of course you have a place to put the number of tickets and how they paid for them. Steve's occupation is auto detailer. and he is self-employed in Lakewood in Washington State, and that's all it takes to enter the information about Steve the donor. That concludes this tutorial.